Hello, everybody, and welcome to another special guest episode of Armchair Keepers of Arcane Secrets. I'm your host, number one, Matt Ryan,
Host number two, Bob Geis.
and we have a very special guest with us today. Allow me to introduce the creative strategist for Onyx Path Publishing, Matthew Dawkins.
Hello, I am very pleased to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
We are honored to have you, Matthew.
So, Matthew, let me just set the stage here. Our special guest a few special guests ago was Bridget Jeffries, who we all know and love.
Mm.
And Bridget started telling us about your game that you're running on Red Moon Roleplaying, which is an actual play podcast. Yes.
Yep, that is correct.
And she was telling us how it's unfolding. She is a player, and she was making there were some interesting choices that you made as a keeper. And I thought, Bob, we ought to grill this Matthew character.
He said something. First of all, he was very upset there was another Matthew in the role-playing world, and he took great umbrage at this. I thought that was a little extreme.
Not only
Well,
there's another Matthew, there's another Matt Ryan that works for Bezier Games. But I interrupted you, Matthew. Go ahead.
firstly, Bridget is a menace, and I'd like everyone to understand that. She is a plague on my game, and damn her to hell. But other than that, I am very happy to be running a game for Bridget. I've often said Bridget is one of the best reactors in gaming, and Call of Cthulhu is all about getting reactions out of players, and hopefully players volunteering good emotional reactions to things to really stir up the tension. Bridget is perfect for that. And Masks of Nyarlathotep is a brilliant campaign for it too. I have now been running it as far as our recordings go. I think we're nearly at the end of Britain, and it will be interesting to see where the party chooses to go after that. Obviously, I've got some ideas, but I am quite happy to follow the investigator's lead. And yeah, it is indeed. I have made changes. I've made changes to the published campaign. I do that every campaign I run because I very much have the philosophy that if you run it straight from the page, it's going to turn into a linear, tedious exercise in fact checking and stumbling and hesitating and not being sure what you're going to do. So, yeah, I insert bits and pieces, sometimes from other Call of Cthulhu campaigns. Sometimes characters from other Call of Cthulhu campaigns might show up. And occasionally that's like just an Easter egg for people who are familiar with Horror on the Orient Express or Shadows of Yog-Sothoth or Mountains of
Sure.
Madness or whatever. But other times it is just to connect everything together and make it make more sense to me as someone telling this story. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think it deserves its reputation. It has earned it over the decades.
Well, there's lots and lots there. There are a lot of bits in what you just said that I want to poke into and ask questions about. Real simple ground questions. How many times have you run masks?
This is my first time running Masks of Nyarlathotep.
First
Wow.
time, but
Wow.
you
Yep.
do run a lot of games, as you said, in kind of the
Yep.
pre-questioning segment.
I have
Folks,
played Masks before, but
Okay.
this
well,
is
you
my first time
played
running.
it.
Yep. Which
Many
counts, which
years ago.
absolutely counts. And it's really that's fantastic. I've never played it. I've only ever run it. I think it's a great tragedy that I've never had the chance to play it, right? And I'll never
Mm.
have the chance to play it. Fortunately, I did have that chance with Orient Express, so I was a player first.
I think I've ran Orient Express. I'm now running it again for another Patreon group because there's something people find incredibly enchanting about the idea of horror on a train. And it's just such a wonderful visual. And I
Yeah.
think I've now run it 6 times. I think
Yeah.
this is my
Or on the
sixth
Orient
group
Express.
on Orient Express. But that's not what we're talking about here.
No.
No, but it would be
No.
interesting to have a quick discussion about that. But maybe we'll save that for another time or for later in the show. All right. So you're comfortable changing things. You're a professional. You work in the industry, and
Yeah.
the Bob, you've got the lead question that
Yeah.
spawned this whole interest.
Yeah. So I was floored, flabbergasted, flummoxed when Bridget told me that you decided not to have Jackson Elias meet his end in room 410?
Yes.
Before you answer, Matthew, I wanna say to the viewers that we try not to, or we often throw spoilers out, but with special guests, we try not to, so that more people can watch this. But Matthew may say some things that could spoil the campaign if you are a player. So
But
from this
Matthew's a
point forward,
professional, so he's going to couch this
he's
response.
going to try. Okay, sorry to interrupt,
Well,
Matthew. Please
I
proceed.
don't know about that. So yeah, I have ran and played enough Call of Cthulhu games now where the quest giver dies in the first act, and it seems to be a trope at this point. Professor Julia Smith dies, or something happens to him in the first act in Orient Express, and so on and so forth. It's something you expect with the medium. Therefore, I wanted to do something unexpected with Jackson Elias. So instead of finding his body mutilated in the hotel room, he stumbles out of it when you arrive. He has just come upon several murdered and mutilated cultists, or at least victims, and the cops who have already been dispatched or tipped off by the folks at the Juju House, and Muero and the like, have come along to grab him. He is subsequently brutalized in Sing Sing jail. And I noticed you mentioned in your discussion with Bridget, there's another plot running through the Harlem chapter about the innocent man on death row. And yeah, I just combined those two plots because that is a secondary thread that a lot of players I find, because I looked into the campaign before running it, don't tend to spend a lot of time on. And so I thought, well, it's still good material. Let's wrap it around Jackson Elias and make it a more time-critical threat. Because Call of Cthulhu games, not just Masks, but Call of Cthulhu games can sometimes enter a spinning wheels phase where investigators aren't feeling pressing urgency. And some campaigns dial that up to the degree of the world's going to end if you don't do this. And other campaigns do, well, you don't know what's going to happen. And that can have a negative effect. So Jackson Elias being railroaded through the prison system or legal system in America in the 1920s added extra pressure to the New York segment of the game.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I agree. That's a great idea.
Let me ask, and this is a question about your preparedness as a keeper. Bob and I run the extremes of preparedness. Bob is very prepared, and I've just read the material. But now, have you thought all the way through the campaign how this will change and affect things, having Jackson Elias alive?
Yeah, I've got a number of contingencies in place. That is a good way to put it, I suppose. I am always aware of the fact that he can die. And I'm also aware of the fact it doesn't have to be Jackson Elias. What I mean by that, and I know Bridget will be listening at this point, but I have in my back pocket the Orient Express scapegoat of what if this is someone else? What if this is one of the cultists of the Black Pharaoh, or any of the other cults that are running around in this game? So maybe it is an NPC pushing you along to certain points to get you to do certain things. That isn't my primary objective. I want to keep Jackson Elias around for as long as is natural, but he doesn't have bulletproof armor. He is currently on the way he's in Derbyshire now, in Lesser Idale, with one of our investigators, because the three investigators decided they would split up and do each of the three London subquests or Britain subquests individually, which is a very lethal decision in Masks, because one of them has just been killed by the Chelsea Serpent. So that's one investigator down. So we've got another one going to Lesser Idale with Jackson, and another one, Bridget's character, is investigating the Egyptian murders by herself, which is not optimal for survival.
I'm sure everything's going to be fine, Bridget. I'm sure everything's going to be fine.
Now,
you got
Matthew,
nothing to worry about.
do you run those sessions separately then?
No, I try to pace it that when I've got solo investigators, everyone gets about 20 minutes, then we hop.
Okay.
If it demands a particularly lengthy solo session and the other players want to be involved, I will invite them to play NPCs. I'll
Okay.
give them some prompts. They won't be anyone critical necessarily, but there'll be someone who can get involved, which also tees up possible replacement characters in the event their investigators die. That's something I learned probably on my third run through of Orient Express, or in fact Shadows of Yog Sothoth, which was the first one I played and first one I ran, that a lot of the mega campaigns don't provide much provision for character death and replacement. They're advertised as high lethality, but there's no easy on road, especially with Orient Express, for someone joining later on down the track. So having players play the roles of NPCs, incidental NPCs who are suddenly interested, suddenly informed, means you're building this bank of
Oh
secondary
yeah.
characters. So I very much enjoy the chance to occasionally do these solo scenes because it means we start building the world in the background of the campaign.
Bob and I both have players that have picked up the character Yulisha in the
Yep.
Cairo chapter. No. Where
Uh,
does the
she's
British
in,
chapter?
yeah,
England.
she's
She's in
in the
England.
Blue Pyramid. Yeah,
When I think she is an excellent replacement character.
very much so. I would suggest Britain probably is the best chapter for introducing friendly NPCs. Well, yeah, because you've got the Inspector, you've got Mickey Mahoney at the Scoop, you've got Yalisha, and you could have, I guess, friendly country folk. Hell, you could have the son of the Vane family, Lawrence
Yeah.
Vane. There's a lot of
Friendly
good.
country folk. I'm going to write that
Yes.
down, Bob.
You know, I'm going to say that already I implanted the seeds for my Egypt chapter with Mahmoud, right? He is,
Oh, okay, yeah.
yes, yes.
You love. Now that's a character I missed over in my thorough reading of the chapter.
You cannot
Didn't
have a
notice him.
successful run without having some airtime for Mahmoud. He's already been adopted by the players, unofficially.
I am kind of anticipating, and this is my hope. Again, I'm happy for the investigators to take the lead. Once we are done with Britain, going to Shanghai rather than to Egypt. So I think Egypt is the natural progression. I think in the book, in fact, it is the next chapter.
It is.
But I am. I'm tying the. Is it Hudson? What's the factory
Oh,
that's in
Henson.
Derbyshire? Henson, not Hudson.
Hinson
Henson.
Manufacturing.
Yes, which
Uh-huh.
has links to the Shanghai chapter.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's another part of Britain you could theoretically just miss. You could do Miser House, you could tackle Gavagan pretty much in London and miss out on all the China links. And because Lesser Dale is in Derbyshire, I am going to thread links between. Well, I've already had that the factory or plant is built on Vane family property, so we can now tie some of that material
More
together.
natural pathway.
Yeah, I want the China chapter to seem more appealing because it's actually my favorite chapter in the entire campaign. I think it's wonderfully
Yeah.
well written and very sinister.
Mhm.
And,
No, I
and
love
and you
it.
don't want to end with it. You don't want to. I mean, I know it's not your preference that it is sort of player led,
Hmm.
but I think we all have. I certainly have little tricks to guide players. Bob will Shanghai them, right? Is
I
that what?
literally will Shanghai them. They will
I
go to
don't.
Shanghai before they go to Kenya. That
Yeah,
will happen.
yeah,
There
yeah.
are there are there are bits of the campaign each because the way that it was originally envisioned that the players could go anywhere so that
Hmm.
any chapter could be the final chapter. Every chapter has a climactic scene, yes,
Yeah.
and I think some of those climactic scenes have a lot more punch than others.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you could have I would struggle to put Britain as the climax. I Australia could work as a climactic part of the campaign. I mean, it's the natural geographic progression from Shanghai, I suppose. So it'll be interesting to see again where the investigators go if they're constantly flying home to New York. Well, not flying home, obviously
Right.
sailing home to New York in
Yeah.
1923.
The only reason my players hit Cairo was because it was on the way to Shanghai,
Yeah.
on the way to China. Once I drew the way that the ocean liner was going to go, they said,
Hmm.
"Oh, we're stopping in Egypt.
We
We
might as
might as
well.
well
Yeah.
swing up the river and check out Cairo." But
Yeah, it's
they also, right from England, wanted to go to China.
yeah. I was there was this brief discussion of going to Australia after England, but they quickly settled in Cairo.
Yeah, I don't think the links from England to Australia are quite strong enough. Yeah, even from New York to Australia, probably not. I think Australia has to come in the latter half of the campaign. But yeah, that's interesting. I'm always interested in knowing how, well, and so are you, clearly, because you're doing this show, and how different people run this campaign.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it will be very intriguing to me to see how Eddie. Well, it was Matthias, but Matthias's character's dead. The player's being replaced as well as the character for the sake of the radio play. Um, but so we're now
Oh,
down
well,
to
you're swapping out players.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Uh,
hardcore.
well, it helps that Matthias is one of the hosts of Red Moon Roleplaying, so he doesn't mind stepping back and having another player come in. But we've discussed it with the player group to say this is a very long campaign. If you ever need an out, we can pull you and
Provided now.
yeah. But we still play with dice. It is still very much down to luck, and I much prefer luck as a mechanic to sanity. That is a Call of Cthulhu preference. I think luck is a tension building machine.
Yeah.
And when you finally say to a player, I'm afraid you're out of luck, that that has so much more impact than you're out of sanity for me. Players desperately hoard their luck because it's a currency, whereas sanity isn't. And yeah, it is a wonderful little mechanic for Call of Cthulhu that really ratchets everything up. Bridget is terrible with luck, just burns through it,
Spending
burns
it.
through it.
Well, I listened to your latest episode this morning, and she spends it readily.
Oh yes, but she does it in service of the plot. That's the wonderful thing. She doesn't mind. Her character's been through more scrapes than any other, uh, but she somehow survives because she burns through 34 luck to make a failure a success. For example, it's one of those wonderful things. It's one of the reasons I've always loved Call of Cthulhu, and it is, despite all the games I work on as a writer or as a GM, Call of Cthulhu is still my favorite game to run. It's just so easy to make it tense and horrible.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, I think Bob and I would both agree with you. Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, I
Absolutely.
don't play a vast majority of a wild array of different games. Some, but I easily default to Call of Cthulhu because it's so easy to run. So
Yeah,
easy to run. The engagement happens so quickly, and
No, no. Again, it's what I do all the time, right? Again, introducing players to Call of Cthulhu is my thing, so I love doing it.
so you're having a good time. Yes, Matthew.
oh, definitely,
Let,
definitely.
let me ask you some technical questions, and this is just because of a television background. Uh, do you have a set number of episodes you want to do, or will this go to however it just organically grows?
I've got a number in mind, an approximate number for each chapter, but it is very flexible. I want the characters to be interesting more than I want the plot to be interesting. So if the characters decide they're going to take a sidetrack and do something that makes them a more interesting character to listen to, I will quite happily entertain that. That's no skin off my nose. I'll enjoy it. So I might think we're going to need, with New York, I thought we'd need about 5 recording sessions to get through New York, and I think we needed 6.
Okay.
Britain is a much more flexible chapter because you don't have to pick up every single side thread, and they are quite voluminous, especially if you head up to Derbyshire and really get involved in the local legends. So yeah, I've got a much more flexible schedule with that one. But yeah, this is probably going to take years
Oh, and you
to
did
conclude.
you ran the Peru chapter, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was partly running the Peru chapter that made me think we need to keep Jackson Elias alive. Because not out of a kill your darlings mentality, but Bridget's character, Madeline, in fact, all of the characters had formed a strong enough relationship with Jackson where it could have really been meaningful, incredibly meaningful for him to die in New York, which is the intention now that we've got this prologue in the 7th edition. But as the players could kind of anticipate that happening, I thought it's even more meaningful if if there's a struggle for him, if you've got to fight for him, if you've got to clear his name. Now we actually have ties, bonds between the characters. They're not disposable, including the NPCs. So yeah, so this was my first encounter with the Peru chapter because when I played it, it didn't exist,
Right.
and I enjoyed it. It feels like a capsule Call of Cthulhu adventure. It doesn't have much of a connection in the great scheme of things, except as an introduction to Elias. But what I've done is have Gavigan or the Penhew Foundation be the sponsor of that expedition
That's a good idea.
because they sponsor all these lethal expeditions to the far corners of the world. Just as now that they're in London, I've had one of our characters, Shelby, run into someone who's trying to fund an expedition to Constantinople, Professor Julius Smith. And
Oh,
he's going
nice.
to be using Smith
There's your
as
Easter egg, right?
yeah, yeah. And I've got Carl Stanford and John Scott and so on from Shadows of Yog Sothoth who basically, well, so to go back to Smith, I'm utilizing Smith as one of our characters' way of getting an interview with Edward Gavigan. Gavigan isn't just going to meet some random person strolling in off the street. But Smith is a professor, he's a member of the Challenger Institute, he wants sponsorship for his expedition into epiphenomena or whatever it is. And so now that we've befriended him, I'll come along too. And if you grew up on Vampire the Masquerade like I did, you'll have a lot of meta plot going on in your head. I love the idea of Call of Cthulhu adventures all taking place around the same time. I love the idea of while you're off adventuring in Shanghai, the Orient Express is just leaving Paris. And you get to see that with some source books like the recent French Revolution one, with Comte Fenelique showing up again, who is in Orient Express. But similarly, in New York, they didn't wipe out the Bloody Tongue. The characters made an alliance with the Bloody Tongue of a sort. It basically they took all of they raided the Juju house, took a load of their stuff, and one of the cultists survived it and essentially approached them and said, I want my shit back. We will leave you and your nearest and dearest alone. And you give us our stuff back. And they said, well, we're not just going to give it back because you'll betray us. So we're going to keep hold of this. We're going to put it somewhere you'll never find it. And you can keep us, you get the other stuff. Get your freaky masks. Take them away from us. But we're keeping this book. Now, from there, I had one of the characters has been in touch with the Order of the Silver Twilight in Boston. And said, you're really interested in this occult stuff, aren't you? Well, these guys are disorganized. They're a haphazard group of murderers in New York. You can take all their shit if you basically neutralize them for me. So you've got Stanford and Scott from
You like that,
Shadows
don't
of
you,
Yog
Bob?
Sothoth.
That's great. I love it. I love it. That's wicked.
The thing is, Silver Twilight is a group that isn't as ostensibly murderous They are
Yeah.
Freemasons. They are effectively a Masonic
Yeah.
lodge, at least
Yeah.
at this time in the chronology, if you like. Whereas you can't really hide the agenda of a group called the Order of the Bloody Tongue. So the characters have quite rightly said, right, well, these people are murderous. We're never going to be able to trust them. But these Freemason types we know in Boston, they might help us out because they're really interested in these things. They don't
Yeah.
know that they're trying to summon Cthulhu in another campaign, but so yeah, it's it helps make things make sense in my head.
Sure.
For listeners who are really attuned to this stuff, they're going to be going, "Oh, that's nice." You know, they'll enjoy it.
Just like Bob and I just did.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
and
Yeah. See the
hopefully
connections.
hopefully the players will find that there's more of a this is just a square of a quilt, but there's a big
Yeah.
quilt of cosmology, cosmic horror taking place here.
Well, Bob, how are we doing on time? We doing all
We,
right?
we need to land this ship. Is how we're
Let me,
doing.
okay. So as we I often ask our guests this question. What would your advice be, Matthew, for a new keeper who has just picked this up from the stand or from mail order or however they got their sweaty little hands on it? What would your advice to that person be?
I think I'd go against the common grain and say take it one chapter at a time. There is a common thread that runs through it, and it's the Carlisle expedition. But the Carlisle expedition aren't going to show up for the first few chapters. Therefore, play your chapter out. It goes where it goes. It is very easy to tie every single chapter back to the Carlisle expedition, regardless of player choices, without it feeling railroaded. So don't feel like you've got to study two hardback books worth of campaign material. I enjoy it because I enjoy reading it, but some people find that too much to take in, too much to plan for, and find it intimidating. So just go chapter by chapter, enjoy yourself, don't be afraid to go off the page. You will circle back round to it eventually because that's what the lovely handouts are for. I've got the exact same game of prop set. That kind of thing will draw players back in. If you suddenly, a mystery person delivers this to you, or the spectre of Jackson Elias speaks to you from the foot of your bed, you can always bring them back in.
Spectre of Jackson Elias. I'm writing that down. Bob, what do you think?
Fairly certain he appears.
Matthew, thank you so much. That was very, very good stuff. I love that. Matt, what do you think? This was amazing, wasn't it?
Yes, no, it's good stuff. And at the end of this, Bob, as we go through, because this was just a harebrained idea that Bob presented to me the end of last year. I can't remember when, but as we go through this, I really would like to get just a group of people together and really just answer the question. It's a lot of work to really run this campaign. There's a lot of decisions that go into it. And I would really just like to do a round chair at the end and get people's idea of, is it worth it?
God, I hope so.
Is the juice as good as the squeeze? Oh, I think everybody will say yes.
No, I think that's, yeah, I know. I absolutely, I think I can do a roundtable discussion about what masks meant to us and our players. I think it's a great idea.
And, excuse me, and why do people keep running it? Like this thing never slips in popularity. The more it's played, the more people want to play it. You can't say that for every campaign.
Yep.
Absolutely not. I've got opinions, but I'll save it for the round table if you have me on before, because I'll be running this, as I say, for a very long time, and so will you. So this round table may be 3 years away. Just keep that in mind.
Hey, we'll keep cranking it out, right?
Matthew, thank you again. Matthew Dawkins, and let me just again say it's Red Moon Roleplaying, where people can go. And if we maybe we can put the link in the show notes, Bob, when we put this together, so people can go and listen to all of your hard work and your players. And maybe we'll just say a parting word to Bridget before we go.
Bridget, thank you very much for making this fine introduction between me and these two lovely gentlemen. You have earned yourself 1d6 luck points.
That's
And
right.
no
Spend
improvement
it well,
checks.
Bridget. All right.
Thank you again, Matthew.
Thank you all.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks.